Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in this video we're going to do a Palantir earnings recap. This is a shorter video where I just give you my quick thoughts and quick takeaways. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to go into how much my position is up today, if I think this was a good or bad earnings, and if I think Palantir is still a buy, and some controversies that have come up in the earnings call. And then tomorrow I'm going to release a video where I'm going to do a very nerdy deep dive into the numbers, and I'm going to update my model for Patreon and the stock prices and my price targets, and that is going to be available for the Patreon subscriber people. So if you want to check it out, check out the first link in the description for Patreon. So Palantir earnings recap. So it was a win of a sort because the stock didn't fall after earnings. However, I'm not really happy with this earnings call, and I'm going to give you the news why. So I'm going to start with there's definitely good points, okay? But I want to start with the bad points. So this has been Palantir's worst earnings growth-wise, okay? So everything in Palantir is slowing, and it's to the point that I have to revisit my thesis. And again, I don't want to waste your time. My thesis is not in problem. There's zero trouble on Palantir's future, but the speed of which they're going to rate it, I probably have to revise it down because of how slow the earnings was. And this is a bit funny for me that we have such a blow up of the stock price when even the guidance was really, really bad. I told you in a previous video that I'm most looking forward to them growing new customers and their guidance, and the guidance was very bad. They're only guiding for 17% growth, which is an even more slowing down of what has already happened in 2022. However, I think everyone got the feeling on the conference calls that they are really sandbagging. They have a history of sandbagging, and you could, for example, an example of that is they told us they would be profitable in 2025, and they came out with GAAP positive earnings already in Q4 2022. So that is almost 3 years, so 2 years and some quarters before they projected this, right? And they have a tendency to sandbag numbers, and this is how they're playing the Wall Street game. So I want nice beats on this, but even if they do 22% next year, it's still a beat to their guidance, but it's really sucky. Like, where is the 30% that they were referencing just a few earnings calls ago? So now let's go to the good points. And there are some very, very good points. So what I was most looking forward to, as I've been saying in many videos, Palantir's most important thing, if you just want to have a quick recap of the earnings call, is are they growing customers? And if you know that the customers are growing, if you understand their business model, that they tend to acquire customers, and in the beginning the customers are very low margin, they even destroy the margin, and then they expand with the customers at a very high margin, then you just want to see them get more customers, because then you know that in the future, next 2, 3, 4 years, they're going to have very nicely expanding revenues. And this is exactly what has happened on the earnings call. They came in with the first quarter of GAAP profitability, which was a total surprise, even though it was super little. So if you went into the fine print, I believe they were 37% GAAP profitable, 37 million GAAP profitable, something like that. And they generated 40 million from a business acquisition. So if you take that out, they were minus 3 million, but then they lost 11 million on their SPAC investment. So if you add that back in, they barely made it to being GAAP profitable, but it still sends a very, very good message. So this quarter was basically showing that everything on the thesis is on track. And the stock it's misspelled. The company is doing very good. So the stock is different than the company, right? But did we deserve a 20% increase today? My portfolios were crazy up. This is one of the portfolios where I have a lot of Palantir shares. It was almost $15,000 up in one day. My other portfolio was more than $7,000 up. So that is almost a $22,000 up in one day. I want many days like this. I'm not going to lie. So what is my quick thoughts on this earnings. So I will have to actually lower my target prices on the stock because the earnings seems to be slowing down. I really hope it's a temporary thing. I actually trust Karp when he says that when you look on a multi-year phase, both the government and the commercial have a very high CAGR. But it doesn't mean that every year they're growing 30%. Like it can be that one year they grow 17% and then next year they go 47%. So my hope is that this is going to be the case, but as a prudent investor, I have to just call it what it is and look at the graphs, and they are slowing down. And I'm going to revise, that's coming in the video tomorrow. It's still a good buy. This is why I say all the time that I want a very big margin when I buy a stock, because if I'm wrong about my thesis, and in Palantir, my thesis was that they're going to grow 30%, right? But if they grow 20%, so much of Palantir's stock value has to do with their future growth, not how they are doing today. So that's a big hit to the stock price. But because the price was so low, I do have this margin to play with, and I believe that Palantir is still a good buy. Then here's the other thing that I don't think that gets enough attention. So Alex Karp is an exceptional CEO. We have sort of, everybody when they start learning new things, they make mistakes. When you start riding a bike, you tend to fall off. And Alex Karp was a new CEO on the stock market and Wall Street game, and he made a lot of mistakes, right? They have done a huge pivot in the company, and they're addressing almost every point that the bears and Wall Street and anybody had any issues with. And I think what's funny is Alex Karp is a character. He's telling you that he's not a good salesperson, whereas he was the only salesperson in the company until the company got to like 700 million a year's annual sales. I will hire that bad person. If you can tell me a bad salesperson that can get my company to $700 million a day, I will hire him any day, okay? Please let me know in the comments if you think the same way. Then what are the other things that he's telling you? He's telling you that if you invest in Palantir, don't hope that he's going to change. But they are changing. It's the perfect case of, look, don't listen. He also tells you, we don't give an F about the stock price. We don't care about the stock price. Wall Street can misunderstand us, and they will see our results, and then they will come to their senses. But I'm telling you, everything that they have done, it's a very strategic pivot that the company has done. And basically, as they say on the All In podcast, and as we see in the world around us, there is a huge financial change. We are going from money being free, technically, to money costing a lot of money. And in that era, the mantra was, growth at all costs. So probably when Alex Karp and Palantir went on the stock market, what the bankers told them is, look, you guys just need to show growth. And no matter how much money you're losing, doesn't matter how much SBC you're giving, as long as you're growing, your stock price will be rewarded. And that has changed in 2022. Everybody who's not making money gets super penalized. And they realized this, and they went into GAAP profitability. And they're even guiding that they're going to be GAAP profitable, because in this new regime, in this new era of finance where money actually has a cost, this is what investors care about. And this is the only way that they can basically get the stock price up, reward their employees, reward the investors that they say that they care about. And actually, this makes me feel like they really do care about us. It's not just him saying it on the earnings call and then not giving clear guidance, not telling us what is happening. These actions show that he really, really cares, and his actions are effective. And to be honest, I never felt better about the company as I do now, because I see how agile he is, that he's able to change. He can see what is wrong and he can react to it. And I value this super, super much. So this was I cannot tell you how big of a plus point this was for me. And I'm super confident and super happy that he's the CEO of the company. So the fact that they are guiding for being GAAP profitable, it's not every quarter. They said that they're going to be GAAP profitable on an annual basis. So there might be quarters where they're not GAAP profitable, but this means that The stock can be bought now by a lot of institutional investors, and that is going to create a lot of buying pressure for the stock as we move on. So we can pretty much forget about the $6 Palantir stock price. And this is also a very, very good news. And in the conference call, this is the mystery takeaway. Somebody asked, what are you going to focus on in 2023? And, you know, they named acquiring new customers, keeping that they're GAAP profitable, and they said this one thing, focusing on new go-to-market strategies. Of course, they didn't went more into detail on what it meant. We can only guess. Maybe this has to do with, you know, going to smaller companies, having a different subscription model, maybe the founder marketplace that we still don't know anything about. But that is a very exciting takeaway for me that I want to find out more about. That is a potential really big, you know, plus for the stock and next year's performance. But other than that, this is my quick takeaways from the Palantir earnings. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed. And tomorrow I will have a very nerdy, very detailed going into the numbers and updating my Patreon Palantir model that you can also download if you're a member on the Patreon. It's going to be awesome. And as I said, the price is going to be revised down a little bit, but it still makes Palantir a very good buy. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.